Hey guys, I hope you're well. Big news of the day. I don't think it's going to surprise too many of you, but repo, reverse repo with the Fed as the counterparty, has officially gone over the $1 trillion mark for one day. Like I put up on Twitter, just nothing to see here. Keep moving along. Nothing to see here. Oh, geez. Just cannot make this stuff up. Even back in 2019, if you would have told me, what, George, the Fed in about a year is going to be doing $1 trillion a day in reverse repo. I don't know if I would have even believed you. I'd have been like, what? Come on. $1 trillion a day in reverse repo? I would have even been a tough sell. The king of the tinfoil hatters would have been a tough sell on that one in 2019. But sure enough, we get there. And, it's like the last conversation I had with my buddy Luke Groman. And it's just like every single time I have him on, the Fed's balance sheet has just gone to a level that just completely blew away our expectations the prior time that we were able to talk about it. It's kind of like this running joke I've got with Groman. But let's go to the article. I'm going to try to make these videos shorter in the future. That's my goal for next week, is to make the videos around 10 minutes. Oh, come on. Oh, give me a break. All right, bear with me here, guys. Why is this not popping up? There we go. Cash flood. Oh, I see. Because it's putting me behind a paywall. That is annoying, isn't it? Oh well, you're gonna have to believe me. I don't know why it pops up on my phone, but it doesn't pop up on my darn computer. Well, let me Google it and see if I can. Let's see here. So let me pull up the news and see if there's any other cash drives update 3 hours ago. Here we go. We'll go to Reuters. I always mispronounce that. So U.S. Fed reverse repo volume hits record $1 trillion as debt ceiling looms. Let's see how badly they kind of or how badly they analyze what's going on here. They say volume at the U.S. Fed reverse repo facility topped $1 trillion on Friday for the first time as investors and financial institutions continue to pour cash into the overnight window. Demand for Fed's reverse repo facility has surged as the U.S. debt ceiling looms. Okay, so let's keep reading here. I'm not sure what the debt ceiling has to do with that. Let's see what their take is. The Treasury Department cuts down on its bill issuance, and financial firms struggle to find places to invest their excess cash. Okay, well, at least they're giving a hat tip to the collateral side of the equation. That's good. I got to give them credit for that, because they're saying the Treasury Department cuts down on its bill issuance. Maybe they inadvertently insinuated something correct. But yeah, we do have to look at the collateral side of the equation. So when an entity like a money market fund does a reverse repo at the Fed gives them collateral, T-bills. So it might not be, and Snyder points this out all the time, it might not be that they have excess cash, or maybe they do, but the fact that they're parking it with the Fed, we also have to think that they may be just as eager to get those T-bills as collateral as they are to get the 5 basis points that the Fed is paying them on all this quote unquote excess cash. We can't forget about the collateral side of the equation. The financial system is swimming in about $4 trillion in reserves, which are rising in part because of the U.S. central bank's asset purchases. The drop in Treasury bill issuance and a rapid drawdown in the government's store of funds at the Fed. Yeah, I mean, they're talking about the TGA. So again, hat tip to them to even bring up the TGA, which the financial media wasn't talking about at all prior to like a year ago. Has dropped by more than 4 trillion since last fall, or 1 trillion. So I like how they take this out of context here. And you guys know from watching my videos that the TGA prior to the GFC usually had about 4 to 5 billion with a B in it. Now, granted that they had accounts in other banks, so it wasn't all consolidated onto the chart where you have it today. But the point is it wasn't even close to what is in there today, even when it's dropped by $1 trillion. Even though it's dropped by $1 trillion, there's still like 600 billion in there compared to, let's just call it 10, to err on the side of being conservative. There was 10 billion a day prior to the GFC. Now it gets down to 600 billion, and all of a sudden we're freaking out that they need to raise the debt ceiling. We've got to keep things into context. Again, yes, it's come down $1 trillion, but it's still at 600 billion or whatever it is. The Fed says firms parked basically $1 trillion there overnight in reverse repo facility Friday. There were 86 bidders, including money market funds and other eligible financial institutions. Volume at the reverse repo facility soared further last month after the Fed raised the rate it pays on reverse repo to 5 basis points. Okay, so we went over the TGA. Let's see if there's any other insights or lack thereof here. Analysts say demand for Fed's reverse repo facility could keep rising as reserves remain elevated. Usage of the program could top 2 trillion, estimates by Scott Skyrim. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where you're coming up with this number. See, the reason that the excess cash doesn't make any sense to me is because if you look at a chart of reverse repo, it just goes parabolic. Like it literally goes from 0 to like 500 billion per day in a week. So maybe even less than that. I mean, it just goes straight up. And it was 0. I mean, there were $0 of Fed reverse repo just 4 or 5 or prior to April. So, you know, look at the amount of reserves we had in the system back then, prior to when there was 0 reverse repos being done. It was pretty darn close to what we have today. So I don't buy that. It's not like the reserves went from 1 trillion to 4 trillion in a matter of a week. I mean, the reserves may have, between when they were doing 0 transactions and when they were doing 500 billion in transactions, the amount of reserves in the system may have increased by 3%, 2%, 1%, something like that. So you're telling me that just because, and another thing that I would point out is if what they're saying is true, there should be a correlation between the amount of QE they're doing, therefore how they're expanding their balance sheet. In other words, creating bank reserves. If it's this excess of bank reserves and quote unquote liquidity, well, all right, then we should see a corresponding amount of bank reserves, if you will, go into the reverse repo facility. But what you'll see is that there's far more going into the reverse repo than the Fed is by which the Fed is expanding their balance sheet, right? So if they expand their balance sheet, let's say by 100 billion, okay, that's fine. But now we've got $1 trillion that's in reverse repo. So that excess bank reserves, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And plus, it's not really banks that are moving it down there. It's money market funds that are parking those dollars with reverse repo, and therefore the bank reserves come out of the commercial banking system. That's a completely separate video. But you see, that's why it doesn't make sense, because it all happened right at once, and there wasn't a significant change to the amount of liquidity in the system. So that would lead you to believe that it has to be something other than excess liquidity or excess bank reserves that is causing this unbelievable spike in Fed reverse repos. Oh, 11 minutes. Okay. All right, let me do some shout outs. I try to do under 10 minutes and I get flustered. I can't even deal with it. It's like impossible for me not to talk about this stuff for at least 20 minutes at a take, but I've got to get fine tuned. I want to make this more about giving you guys the daily news with my thoughts instead of just exclusively giving you my thoughts. I think you guys, I've put out plenty of videos. I've put out probably close to 1,000 videos when you combine this channel with George Gammon. So I think you guys know my thoughts on stuff. I don't need to keep reiterating them over and over and over and over and over again. So I want to provide more value to you guys above and beyond just my thoughts. And so I think if I could provide value in the form of giving you guys news that I think is worthy of your attention, then that makes the channel even better. So that's my objective. Okay, let's see. Shout outs here. We got Carrie Agen. We've got Michael Whipple, J. Edward, Gray Fox, KC Sunshine, Jack Buys, Klaus is in the house, Becky B, Ann A. Lean, Wayne Smith, David Lamar, Peter Wilson, Sustainable Lumber, Tater Squad, Mechanic Christopher Lutz, KY Fiam, Net Nerd, Moody, the millennial in the house. I think Moody was just on my live stream with Rich Cooper over at Entrepreneurs in Cars, my good buddy. You got to check out his channel. I just did an hour live stream with him on all this, investing. We didn't talk about investing that much. A little bit of macro here. We're just talking about like kind of the red pill, the guys, and I always enjoy talking about that stuff as a single guy. I think you got to know that. I think as a single gal, it's just as important to understand that stuff if you want to have fulfilling relationships at any time in the future. But anyway, that's another wild tangent. Anthony in the house. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and I'll see you on the next video.